Hello, my name is Matthew, and welcome to Learning to Cope with Bluey. Today, we're going to learn what Bluey can teach us about cognitive diffusion and what it means to separate ourselves from our thoughts. Let's take a look. But before we jump in and learn more about cognitive diffusion, first we need to better understand what cognitive fusion means. Cognitive fusion is when our unhelpful and unwanted, otherwise known as intrusive thoughts, have become so frequent and persistent that we feel as if they have fused to and become one with us. It feels like they are truly our own thoughts in those moments, even though that's not really the case. And it's not that we want to have these thoughts. It's not that people who struggle with cognitive fusion are going around their everyday lives seeking every opportunity to have all these horrible thoughts or feelings all the time because they want to. In reality, they just pop up. They just happen. Similarly, when we experience big catastrophic feelings, they become so overwhelming that they start to affect other areas of our lives, including the thoughts that we have, and even the behaviors that we engage in because of the thoughts and feelings. And sometimes you might hear people say, well, just control your thoughts, control your feelings, fix it, right? It's all in your head. And while the thought of controlling our thoughts and feelings is great in theory, it doesn't really work, I think, the way that people think it does. In reality, the harder we try to not think about something or ignore it or pretend the thought doesn't exist or that we're not really feeling the feelings that we're having, the more attention we're actually giving it. For example, I want you to not think about a giant pink elephant balloon trying to squeeze its way through your doorway into your living room. I don't want you to think about and imagine what it must look like for that giant pink elephant balloon to squeeze through the door, the squeaking sound that it makes as it's pushing its way through your little door frame and popping into your room, filling the entirety of the space. Don't think about that. And just like not thinking about the pink giant elephant balloon and what that must be like and how hard that was, the same thing is true for our intrusive thoughts and feelings. We don't really want to think about them, but the harder we try to not think about something, the more we pay attention to it. So the question is, what do we do then? If we can't get rid of our thoughts and feelings, how do we control them? And this is where cognitive diffusion comes in. So if cognitive fusion is where our intrusive thoughts and feelings become fused to us, they become part of who we see ourselves as, then cognitive diffusion would be separating ourselves from those thoughts and feelings. To do this, the first thing that we do is actually acknowledge that we're experiencing the intrusive thought or feeling. Then, once we've acknowledged it, we engage in some sort of imagery-based activity or exercise that helps us to create a visual of ourselves physically separating from our intrusive thoughts or feelings. We create this image in our minds of the thought leaving us, just floating away. And the nice thing is, there's lots of different ways to do this. We're going to go over one specific example that's shown in the Bluey video that we're going to take a look at here in just a minute. But if that particular way doesn't work for you, rest assured that there's others that can help, and I'll mention a couple of those at the end just in case this particular example doesn't work for you. So this is the moment we've been waiting for. This is where we now jump over and take a look at how Bluey teaches a cognitive diffusion technique to be able to separate ourselves from our intrusive thoughts and feelings. In season 3, episode 41, we see the Healer family playing at the beach, having some fun, except for the dad Bandit, who is seen sitting under the umbrella and kind of just staring off into the distance all by himself. The mom Chili notices this and says,
"Let it go, babe. You're missing all this."
Bandit acknowledges that he's trying, but that he's still struggling to let it go.
I'm trying.
Chili tries to encourage him to engage more with the family, but he's still having a hard time. But Then Bingo, the youngest member of the healer family, comes up and asks her dad to come join her to go find some sticks that she and her sister Bluey can use to practice their throwing, which they had been doing with their mom. During their search, Bingo finds a very unique stick and creates Stick Bird out of the stick that looks like the head of a bird, as well as some sand. But Bingo and Bandit go off to find even more sticks to keep playing, and while they're gone, a couple of kids come and ruin Bingo's Stick Bird and end up taking the stick away. This obviously makes Bingo visibly sad, just like we see Bandit earlier in the episode. Bandit, recognizing this, tries to say the same exact thing that Chili told him earlier.
Come on, cheer up, Bingo. You're missing all this.
Meanwhile, Bluey, who's been working with her mom to perfect her stick throwing, finally gets it and runs over to Bingo and Bandit to share the big news, to tell Bingo about her success. And Bingo is really sad. She says,
"I'm upset and angry."
Bluey then offers to help Bingo.
"I can show you a trick my buddy Mia taught me if you like. It's for after you're upset and angry."
So, first, Bluey teaches Bingo that she needs to collect her thoughts and feelings and hold them in her hand, and gives that imagery, that visual of collecting them from her body, showing different places where the upset and angry feelings might be held.
Okay, so you have to collect all the upset and all the angry. How do I collect upset and angry? You just feel where it is and go get it. There's usually some in your belly or your neck. And always remember to check your ears. Okay.
So Bluey and Bingo use this imagery of physically collecting the upset and angry from the different parts of their body, and they hold it in their hand.
Now you've got all that upset and angry in your hands.
And Bingo asks the big question.
What do I do with it?
And Bluey comes back with a question of her own, which is very important.
Do you want to keep it?
The reason this is an important question is because sometimes our thoughts and feelings are okay to have. Sometimes it's okay to sit with uncomfortable feelings. But if we don't want to hold our thoughts and feelings anymore, then Bluey suggests to Bingo that we throw them away, and uses that imagery of that throw that she had been perfecting with her mom earlier in the episode to throw the upset and angry feelings away.
Well, what do you do with something you don't want anymore? Give it to you? Well, I don't want it.
Yeah, me neither.
Then what do I do with it? You throw it away.
And this is the most crucial part of cognitive diffusion. We separate those intrusive thoughts and feelings from ourselves by collecting them and putting them into our hand, and then we find a way to let them go. We've acknowledged that we have them, we find where they are, we collect them, we separate them from ourselves, and then we let them go. Then, at the very end of the episode, my favorite part happens. After the girls run off and have a race to go somewhere else, Bandit, thinking about his own experiences, collects his own thoughts and feelings, the ones that he doesn't want. He holds them in his hand and he throws them away, using the same technique that his daughter just taught him. Cognitive diffusion is all about using that imagery of creating a physical or visual separation between yourself and your intrusive thoughts and feelings. And this can be done in any creative way that you can imagine. Many examples that you can find on the internet or in videos, guided meditations, are things like imagining our intrusive thoughts and feelings as leaves on a string floating down the river. Others are imagining them as clouds in the sky or balloons being released into the sky. Another way that you could practice the imagery part of cognitive diffusion is by singing, slowing down, or even repeating the intrusive thoughts that you have until they lose all of their meaning and sound as ridiculous as they actually are.
Anything sounds weird if you say it 100 times. Bowl. 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 Ball, ball, ball.
And finally, one of my favorite examples of cognitive diffusion is sushi on a conveyor belt. At a sushi bar, where the sushi plates go by on a conveyor belt and you get to pick and choose which ones you want, the same thing can be used for our thoughts and feelings. If we want to hold on to them and to sit and experience them as long as they're helping us, we can. We can take those plates and we can hold on to them. And then when we're ready to let them go, we put them back on the conveyor belt. Or if we don't want them, we let them pass. And those are only some of the examples that you can find basically anywhere online. I'll include some links in the description below to some of my favorites. I hope that you found something useful from this video to help you live your best life. If you or a loved one has ever used this skill and wants to share their story, please feel free to do so down in the comment section below. And until next time, I'll see you in Learning to Cope with Bluey.